In continuing my journey, looking back at the films of 2021, we're going to tackle movies I have not yet reviewed that came out in April and May of last year. It includes Wrath of Man, the Guy Ritchie film, Billy Crystal and Tiffany Haddish teaming up in Here Today, and an Oscar nominee as well for Best Original Song. Let's talk movies. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It, and welcome to my movie reviews for 2021 April and May films. We're sort of going through the year as a whole, taking a look at many movies that I have not yet reviewed on the channel here, and thank you for finding this video and finding my channel, Dan Reviews It. We do movies and TV reviews a lot here, on occasion some food items we will review and some other random things, but mostly movie and TV stuff, and if you are a fan of that, please consider subscribing down below there. Would love to have you aboard. So now we're getting into the era of theaters reopening, so a couple of these did play in theaters, but yeah, look, April and May, obviously I reviewed a lot of movies from this time period already. You can find them on my channel, most of them in standalone reviews, a lot of streaming ones too, Thunder Force on Netflix, Mitchells and the Machines, but some theatrical ones as well, Those Who Wish Me Dead with Angelina Jolie, and Spiral with Chris Rock, which was the Saw movie. So you can catch all of that on my channel elsewhere, but we're going to tackle now 6 movies from this era that I did not yet review. Arlo, The Alligator Boy, that one is on Netflix. Together, starring Ed Helms. Here Today, starring Billy Crystal and Tiffany Haddish. 4 Good Days, which is up for Best Original Song at the Oscars, and that is with Mila Kunis and Glenn Close. Wrath of Man, starring Jason Statham, which is directed by Guy Ritchie, and then Georgetown, which stars and first time directed by Christoph Waltz. So some interesting titles here, and we're going to just sort of go through them mostly in the order in which they were released, but a couple of them have a similar theme, so we're going to tackle those together. But first, let's start with Arlo the Alligator Boy. This is on Netflix, and interestingly enough, I actually reviewed the TV version of this. So this movie, back in April, begat a television program in the fall called I Heart Arlo. So I was actually familiar with a bunch of these characters sort of after the fact, but this is an animated film featuring a boy who is half human and half alligator named Arlo Beauregard, and he is basically on a quest to find himself, to find his place in this world, and eventually to hopefully make it to New York City. And he is voiced by Michael J. Woodward. We also have Mary Lambert here, the singer, doing the first time voice as this giant woman, and Tony Hale from Arrested Development and Veep, playing teeny tiny Tony, who is a rodent-like creature in Con Man, and then the adoptive mother of Arlo is voiced by Annie Potts. So interestingly enough, I actually really enjoyed the TV version of this. I thought the show was cute. It had some original songs, which is always fun for a TV show. The movie has some original songs as well. But interestingly enough, I actually enjoyed the TV version a little bit more. I sort of like the the New York part, and the, okay, well, here's, I found myself now, here's me and my friends, and working in this neighborhood and living in this neighborhood and living life day to day. I actually sort of preferred that to this journey story. And there's no real particular reason. I guess maybe I just liked that the TV version gave us a little more meat and potatoes with the characters themselves. Maybe I liked the songs a little more. I'm not sure. Not that I disliked the movie. It's going to be a slightly positive grade. But the animation is a little bit interesting. I wouldn't call it that fluid, but it is certainly eye-popping, especially with the size differences between some of these characters. You've got the giantess, you've got teeny tiny Tony, you've got Arlo sort of somewhere in the middle. So, in terms of perspective with, them and buildings and other people, and, they're playing with that a little bit in this movie. But again, probably even more in the TV show. So interestingly enough, the show, I can't remember my exact grade for it, but it was either like a B or a B+. And this one moves slightly below that with a B- for Arlo the Alligator Boy. Yeah, and since these, by the way, are movies that are, close to a year old now, we're just going to kind of roll through these. These are not going to be my usual, 8 to 10 minute reviews per movie. Nope, 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll be on to the next one. So Together is next. This is with Ed Helms, Patty Harrison. Tig Notaro has a supporting role as well. And basically, Matt, who is played by Ed Helms, is a very successful app developer, and essentially he is looking to become a father, but he doesn't really have anyone to share that experience with. He is single, and not that necessarily he's a loser or awkward or whatever. He just doesn't necessarily want a wife or a mate. He just kind of wants to be a dad, and feels that he can do this on his own. So he interviews this woman who's very nice to him every day at this coffee shop, because he wants to have a surrogate. And so he approaches her. Patty Harrison plays her. And the two of them strike up not only a business arrangement, but as the film goes on, a pretty good friendship as well. And we sort of get the sense, I don't really do spoilers on this channel for movies unless otherwise stated, but I think we get the sense that, she will hopefully help him raise this child once they are born. But in the interim, we get to sort of see them getting close and people sort of misinterpreting their relationship and that sort of thing. So this is a bit of a dramedy, but I would say more leaning into the drama aspect. I like that Ed Helms takes sort of these roles that maybe in some ways does not make him that likable. There's certainly some scenes here where he's, a little bit on his high horse, or he thinks he's, hey, this is our business arrangement, and you need to do X, Y, and Z, and this and that. Not that he's a complete jerk. I think he's worse in The Office for sure, but he has this likable quality about him, and I think it's why he can play a lot of these sort of roles. And last month when I did the February and March recap, I don't think any of the films got a positive grade. This month, I was actually surprised by a couple of these movies. And this is one of them. This has a very sweet nature to it at the end of the day. I'll be honest, I'm not really familiar with Patty Harrison. I thought maybe she was related to George Harrison, but I don't think she is. But she is in the TV show Shrill, which I've seen. So I guess I sort of know her from that as one of the side characters, but didn't even pick up on it while I was watching the movie. But there's this sort of very sweet nature to it, and there are funny moments and some very heartfelt and emotional moments that I thought really worked. So overall, I enjoyed Together very much, and I leave it with an A-. So we usually go in order of release with these sort of wrap-up reviews, but I'm going to jump to the middle of May now, because this next movie has a lot in common with Together, but it works in some different ways. Here Today is the name of it. It's Billy Crystal and Tiffany Haddish. He plays this aging sketch comedy writer and producer and consultant, I guess. And he's sort of getting long in the tooth, but, the kid sort of running the show wants to keep him around because he basically gave him a start in his career. And so, okay, here, try and punch this up for us, whatever. But he is starting to get more and more forgetful, and we learn, he's got some early onset dementia. So he meets this woman whose boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, buys this win a lunch with this Charlie, the writer guy. And so she ends up going in her ex's place just to kind of spite him. And the two end up sort of talking and striking up a friendship based around the fact that she is allergic to the shellfish that she's eating at lunch, blows up. So they go to the hospital together and he stays with her. And so the two end up striking a friendship. And the reason this is similar to Together is that a lot of people start to get the wrong idea about their relationship. They are, merely friends and, nothing more, but everybody in his family thinks it's sexual and romantic, and everybody sort of in her life feels the same way. And we get a lot of those sort of, mixed messages, I should say, or incorrect thoughts, to be more appropriate, in Together. And there's, an age difference in both movies. It's bigger here. Probably Billy Crystal's got to be in his 70s, I think, right? And Tiffany Haddish, maybe mid-30s. But in any event, I really like Tiffany Haddish. I've said this many times on reviewing her things, but sometimes I don't think the project quite suits her. In fact, just last month we had one called Bad Trip on Netflix, and I thought she was, kind of funny in that. But this, I think, tries to do a lot of the things that Together does, and misses on almost every mark. I like both of these people. I like Billy Crystal as well, and I think he's got some jokes here. He's moderately funny with the sketch show, and moderately funny just in his own life. But there is a real disconnect, I feel, with this movie, and what makes a movie good. Like, it tries way too hard to pull at these emotional strings and emotional notes, and it comes off very false. I didn't quite connect with either of the characters the way I did with Together. And the ending is so schmaltzy and, Hollywoodized, and it's the type of movie that probably, Billy Crystal could have made in the 70s and 80s and gotten away with it. You have that sort of, sickly sweet John Hughes type ending. And here it just came off as very forced and inauthentic. Really, a lot of the movie comes off that way. And this is one of these where the Rotten Tomatoes difference between critics and audiences is a lot. The critics have it like more middling. I think it's a 46% or something like that. And then the audience has it way up there in I think the upper 80s. And for me, I'm definitely more with the critics on this one. In fact, maybe even lower. I think 46% might be generous. This movie is a mess. It is cloying, and it is forceful in its trying to wring some emotion from it. And we've seen a lot of recent dementia films, The Father and Still Alice, and not a lot of them have sort of a comedy lean to it like this one does, but it doesn't mean that it worked. So I'm going to leave here today with a D+. All right, so up next, we will talk about Four Good Days. Like I mentioned earlier, this is nominated actually for Best Original Song at the Academy Awards in a couple of weeks. Glenn Close and Mila Kunis play mother and daughter. Stephen Root, by the way, plays the stepfather. But this is a drug addiction movie, and Mila Kunis plays Molly. And this is based on a true story. They've changed the names and obviously some of the situations too, like they usually do. But it's sort of based around a true story that essentially this woman has tried to get back in her mother's good graces time and time again. But the problem is she keeps stealing from her. She keeps lying and all of these other things because she can't stay off hard drugs. And they've really made Mila Kunis look the part here. They've, given her the sort of busted lips and bad teeth, and her face is all sort of scarred and pockmarked and bruised. And we see that throughout the movie. But there is hope, because there is this injection that she can get, that if she is 4 days clean, she can get this injection, and it will last hopefully 30 days. And she can go back and get this injection every month, and it will help keep her clean and sober. But can she do it? That is the main issue with this movie. So I love Glenn Close, and she is due an Oscar. She is, I think, the most nominated actress ever that has never won an acting Oscar. She's been nominated 8 times and always comes up short. And I think she's now sort of trying to do these roles specifically to get awards. And she tried it with Hillbilly Elegy, which I did not really care for that much. I liked it better than most, actually, with my C+, but, it wasn't really working for me, although she was probably the best part of it. And she's excellent here as well. She is really rock solid as this mother figure, and as somebody who has had, drug addicts, both in my family and otherwise in my life. It is hard to see that. It's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching to kind of go through the motions over and over again with rehab and all of these, and hoping that this will be the one that sticks. And Mila Kunis certainly playing against type here. Obviously she's more known for her comedy, maybe a little action here or there, but hard-hitting drama, I don't usually think of Mila Kunis for that, and she does very well here also. The problem comes with the very basic script. Everything in this movie we have seen in countless drug addict movies in the past. In fact, we've had a couple of really, really good ones in the last maybe 3 years. Ben is Back with Julia Roberts is one of them, and then Beautiful Boy is the other one. Timothy Chalamet, I believe, plays the boy in that one, and I want to say maybe Steve Carell plays the father. But those were, I think, much better examples of the addict's struggle. Here, though, it is still gripping because of these two incredibly solid performances. And then Stephen Root, who plays the stepdad, he can do it all. We've seen him do, from Milton in Office Space to, Barry's partner in the drama Barry on HBO. He can do everything, and he's great here too. So between the three of them, they can almost make this a more convincing movie and a more nuanced movie than I think the script actually has given them. And for that, I will leave this movie with a slight positive. The song in question for Best Original Song is okay. I don't think it has a shot at winning. I think it's going to be Encanto this year for that. But in any event, it's interesting that this movie that basically no one's even heard of, at least, got some sort of Oscar recognition, because the movie on the whole, I don't think would get many nominations for, the script or much else. But again, the acting, this is an actor's showcase of a movie. So I will leave Four Good Days with a B-. Wrath of Man is up next. This is an action thriller heist film from director Guy Ritchie, who I usually find to be very, very over the top. I will admit I'm not a huge fan, except for sort of like his 90s stuff. Like Snatch is really good, but the recent movies are, maybe some of them are okay, but I've failed at least one of them. So I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, but look, I go into things usually with open minds. So this is Jason Statham, of course, one of his longtime collaborators, and it sort of takes place. He plays Patrick H. Hill, and it basically gives us different perspectives and different angles of the same sort of incident and what the ripple effect is to some of those things. So he plays this cash truck driver in L.A., and he thwarts a robbery. And so that leads to his mysterious past being questioned. Classic Jason Statham stuff here. Okay. When I get about 15, 20, 25 minutes into a movie, I can usually tell whether at least it's going to be sort of like, okay, this is probably going to be higher echelon, A to like B level, or this seems like it's maybe more middling, B- to C-, let's say. Or, man, can I even make it through this movie? This is rough start. And that's like the D+ to F range. And Wrath of Man, I was sure that I was going to fail this movie. The first 20 minutes, I would say, the dialogue is awful. The acting is atrocious. Some of the worst acting since I saw M. Night Shyamalan's Old. I mean, the acting is terrible. And then Jason Statham, he's just doing his thing. It's fine. But, Guy Ritchie's all about the explosions and a lot of cool action scenes. And there were a couple of those, but I was like, the dialogue is too bad to even let that, be a positive. It is nice to see some of these action sequences. Not that there's anything new in them, but, okay, fine. But it wasn't enough to balance out the awful everything else. But I was shocked as they started going through sort of the different, like, not timelines, but the different aspects of this event and from different angles. And okay, let's see it from this person's perspective and this person's perspective. I actually started enjoying the movie, which rarely happens. Usually if it's that low to start, it could maybe claw its way up a little bit to like a D+ or something like that. And look, this movie is not going to get a positive grade because it starts out so poorly. And I'm not sure that most of the acting ever gets any better, but the story does. As we go through, the story gets more engaging. We see the different perspectives. Now, Statham comes off basically like the Terminator in this. Like, he can't be hurt really. Like, there's about 5 different times when you'd be like, okay, he for sure is dead. and then of course he's not because he's Jason Statham and he's essentially a superhero. That I think gets a little bit old. There's only a few movies that really can do that well. John Wick, of course, is one of them, but he doesn't let anybody get close enough to really kill him. But Statham's getting like shot up, 18 bullets, and then all of a sudden he's lying in a hospital bed in the next scene, and you're like, okay, no, he for sure died. And so that's a little annoying. But I have to be honest, this definitely clawed its way up from an original F for me, which I did not think was going to happen. So I have to give it a little bit of credit for that. So I will leave Wrath of Man with a C-. And then if we're going to close with Georgetown, like I said, these, quick reviews, about 4 or 5 minutes each, and then we'll end it here and wait for the next month. But Christoph Waltz is directing this for his feature film debut as a director, but he also stars in it, and it's from this article called The Worst Marriage in Georgetown, and essentially he is playing this, person who definitely wants his name to get out there in social circles. He wants to climb up that ladder, and he is essentially using his much older wife, played by Vanessa Redgrave, to help him do that. However, she gets murdered early on in the film, or she dies early on in the film, I should say, and it's a quest to figure out, okay, what happened? Did she just die? Did she get murdered? We learned pretty early on that, yes, there was definitely some foul play, but what did happen? And it turns out less of sort of a mystery movie as it does a movie of, okay, well, let's, have the cops sort of question people and, see what they can dig up. But, there are definitely some doubts to what maybe happened. As I was watching it, I wasn't quite positive. A couple times I did think, okay, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's this. So there is a bit of a mystery aspect to it, but I would not call this movie necessarily a mystery. I would call it a crime drama. So Annette Bening is here as the daughter of Vanessa Redgrave's character, and her role, unfortunately, is the worst in the film. I think she is wasted here with, so much potential. I love Annette Bening in so many things, and here they just give her character nothing. She's, obviously very protective of her mother and okay, but it's just a very bland, nothing character. And I really, really wish there were maybe like more standoff scenes with her and Christoph Waltz, sort of going back and forth, because obviously they both cared for the mother in different ways. I wanted to see more of that, and I didn't really get that. I thought her role was completely wasted, and if you're going to get a nice A-list star, give her something meaty to do, please. But in terms of his directing, I thought it was perfectly fine, if not maybe even a little above that. I think there were, some maybe angles that were interesting or some shots that I thought, okay, I see what he's doing there. And the movie is very watchable. So I do leave this one with a positive grade. I think he may have some directing jobs ahead of him. But of course, it's Christoph Waltz, so the acting was really the main, I think, thing that he brought to the film. He's always so commanding on film. And you do need somebody in this role. Not that you're necessarily looking to sympathize with him, but he sort of has that presence where you're sort of considering it. You're like, okay, well, what really did, happen here? And how do we feel about this character? And I think that's always good. He sort of brings that gravitas always to his roles. So overall, I will leave Georgetown with a B-. So 3 B-minuses, 1 A-. So, definitely better than the last video we did for the 2021 wrap-up when they were all negative. I think we had like a couple of C+. That was like the highest. But here, better than that. So the next couple of months, we're going to do standalones. Because June, I have like 5 or 6 movies to watch from that month. July, same thing. August, same thing. So keep in mind, theaters were like, definitely getting reopened over the summer. And I saw some of the movies in theaters, but a lot of them I was unable to. So now that some of them are popping up on streaming and DVD, we can sort of go through the list here. And I'll have this whole 2021 thing finished in a couple of weeks' time, and then we will do the 2021 wrap-up. So keep it tuned on Dan Reviews for all of that stuff. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.